great basketball.
Defender to the master, Jason Tatum.
We'll be covering pre and post game back on this channel.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another post game live. I am your host, Robby, and I am with me is joined my co-host Justin Lowe. The Boston Celtics pick up the 130-118 victory on the road against the Charlotte Hornets in what was game 2 of a little 2-game mini series the Celtics had in Charlotte. Jason Tatum absolutely stole the show. 51 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists. Tonight was his 7th game scoring over 40 points plus. JT, another 50 bomb, Justin, as he continues his MVP campaign. The Celtics, though, played a very great game of basketball. Derek White, 19 points in his return, 8 assists. Brogdon continues to be strong off the bench, 16 points. Marcus Smart had 10 points. Grant Williams kind of teetered around a triple-double today, 9 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. Celtics winning streak back up to 7. They advance and they continue on to a 33-12 record, which is 4.5 game lead over the Brooklyn Nets now, which are the 2 seed. Justin C's kind of hit a rough stint there in December. It kind of got a bumpy in that West Coast trip. We dropped onto the Clippers to the Warriors. They kind of picked things up, though, since Christmas, since that game against Milwaukee. What has been the key to not only tonight's win against the Hornets, but kind of to this resurgence that we're seeing from the Celtics?
Yeah, I think the role players, the guys who are new, Derek White, first full season with the Celtics, wasn't that comfortable with the team last year coming in February. And then Malcolm Brogdon, who's been huge since Jaylen Brown has been out, 28 the other night, 16 tonight. 30 the other night and 16 tonight. That's big, and we need guys to step up. Obviously, Robert Williams healthy has been so big, Rob, because the first 10 games of Robert Williams, or however long he's been back, the first month, we were questioning, whoa, what's going on here with Rob? He looks great, but he's not playing. Clearly a little minute restriction with him, but he's starting to look A-okay. And the Robert Williams effect is in full effect, right, Rob? We talk about Tatum and how he's playing, and Horford looks great, and then Marcus Smart. Everybody's kind of rejuvenated with Robert Williams. Everybody's excited for Robert Williams to get back out there on the floor, and the Celtics playing a great team brand of basketball. 34 assists tonight for the Celtics. 21 of those were in the first half. So Celtics moving the ball, hitting shots, then defensively making some plays. I mean, it wasn't until in the second half where the Hornets started hitting their shots that they weren't hitting in the first half. They were tough contested shots that they were hitting to get themselves back into the game. But I think that's what the Celtics have been doing really well since that Christmas Day game, was the addition of Robert Williams and then the evolution of Malcolm Brogdon and Derek White.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fact that this team's able to have such success on offense with their second leading scorer, 27 points per game, is not being played right now. You got to think we have to find a way to make up for 27 points. Well, guess what? We did just that. Malcolm Brogdon, 16. Excuse me, Derek White, 19. Grant, like I said, guys are stepping up, and I think that's huge. You said 34 assists. That's the Celtics' new season high, which broke 33, which previously was set against Charlotte beforehand. So great win tonight. We got a big one coming up against Golden State. But something I noticed this game, and really last game, was it kind of feels like this team can pick and choose when they want to play defense and when they want to play offense. Last game against Charlotte, it was kind of a flipped. It was the switches were flipped. They played a really great defensive game in the second half against Charlotte, holding them to 40 points, I believe, in that second half. They scored 104 points after previously scoring, I believe, which was 62 in the first half. So the defense really came strong there. But now you kind of fast forward, the defense looked really stellar in the first 22 minutes of the game. The Hornets kind of chipped away at it in the last 2 minutes of that second quarter. Defense looked great, though, the first 22 minutes. And then kind of shift over to the second half. The Celtics are right, okay, Hornets are kind of making their shots right now. We're going to shift away from defense. We're going to play a faster, get the ball to JT, knock down our shot style brand of basketball. Celtics, it's really tough to beat a team when they can pick and choose when and where and how they want to be successful. Celtics team is really good at doing that. However, I would like to see a little bit more consistent defense throughout the course of 48 minutes, right, Justin? But, I think the defense side of the ball has been pretty stellar over the past 7 games, especially with Robert Williams when he's playing.
Right. And I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I mentioned it too the other day where we are only 16 days into 2023, which is, I don't know, however many games the Celtics have played, but in the first half of the season from October to January, the Celtics only had four 4 games where their opponent scored under 100 points. Celtics have already had 3 of those in this calendar year in 2023. So the defense is certainly ramping up. I do agree with you where the Celtics have strives of effort or lack of effort, and they can turn it on. They know when to turn it on. They know when to turn it off. I don't feel like there should ever be a time where they turn it off. I know it's easier said than done. I bet you it's tiring running up and down the court for 48 straight minutes. But this team has shown when it is consistent how really dominant they are and how unbeatable they are. Unbeatable is a very, very strong word to use, but it's very it's a very usable word when we're talking about the Celtics and when they're at full strength and they're playing this type of basketball. Again, it all goes back to the Robert Williams effect. Yeah, 8, 9, and 3 were his numbers tonight. We don't need as much as we love it. We don't need a Jokic 30-point game, 20 rebound with 15 assists. What we need of Rob is what we saw tonight in these contributions, and the Celtics defense is certainly ramping it up.
Yeah. I mean, I think right now I'm looking at the league. I'm really looking at the Eastern Conference, and the Celtics are head over heels the best team in the East. I don't really think it's close right now. I mean, obviously Brooklyn and Milwaukee are banged up. Cleveland's kind of coming back down to earth. They're sitting at the 5 seed. I think New York looks good, but I think this is really a 3-team race, 4-team really, if you want to consider Philly. I just haven't seen enough from Philly over the past 7 years with Embiid to kind of be comfortable to say, yes, I can consider you guys a serious contender. They look good though. But I mean, Boston right now, they're 4.5 games ahead of Brooklyn. Like I said, KD's going to be out for probably another 3 or 4 weeks over there in Brooklyn. So you could see them trickle down. Giannis and Middleton, Giannis has just recently been missing games, but Middleton's been out now for some time. It doesn't really look like he's going to be getting healthy anytime soon. And look at these teams, right? When their second best players, when their first best players are out, they're struggling to win basketball games. And I think this is where you can see the Boston Celtics are so much better than the field. It's because no Jaylen Brown. Look what this team is doing. It's almost looked like they haven't skipped a beat. Last game against Charlotte, Malcolm Brogdon, 30 points off the bench, second highest point total on the season for Brogdon, in the league, second most points scored off the bench in the league for Brogdon just last game against Charlotte. Then you look at this game, Derek White's going to step in and he's going to get you 20 points and 8 assists. And you're having smart. So this team is not just Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. It is so much deeper. And you want to look at stats and Luka Doncic this and Nikola Jokic that. Let's take a look at Jason Tatum's stats this season when Jaylen Brown doesn't play. JT is averaging 36.5 points, 8.5 rebounds, and 4.2 assists in only 5 games, I guess, without Brown. But I mean, some really big performances. He had 43 against Detroit in 10. That was back in November. And then he had 51 tonight against Charlotte. So, people want to say the Boston Celtics, right? Jason Tatum isn't the MVPs. Look at Luka's stats, look at Jokic stats. Let's look at Jason Tatum's stats when he's not sharing the court with our other 27 point per game superstar. So there's levels to this, people, and that is really why I think the Celtics are just so much better than the field. You're seeing guys, Jason Tatum's great, but when guys are down, we saw Grant Williams 20.8 rebound game not too long ago, right? Just the other week again, who was it against Chicago, right? He had 20 points. So it's almost every game now, it's someone else just stepping up. And over the course of 82 games, when you're going to have guys in and out of the lineup, it's really not like the playoffs where, for most part, you have your core. Who's playing is going to be in the rotation for the season. Guys are stepping up. I mean, even Peyton Pritchard, Justin, right? Like it's just what this Celtics team is doing is so much better than the field. I don't think it's close.
Right. And when we go and we talk about these MVPs, the Jokic's and the Kevin Durant's and the throw in Luka Doncic, like these guys are bona fide superstars. There's no doubt about it. We're not downgrading these guys, but I think when we look at the MVP, and it's almost like a glass half full, glass half empty type of situation. There's two sides to the argument in terms of when Luka Doncic scores in these big numbers, rebounds, assists, points, steals, whatever it is, and they're like, oh, he's all alone. Like that's what makes him so impressive. What makes it so impressive with Jason Tatum that you were, I believe, alluding to is that he's putting these numbers up consistently, maybe not 51, but he's putting these numbers up consistently while having Jaylen Brown, Robert Williams, Derek White, Malcolm Brogdon, Marcus Smart, Peyton Pritchard, Grant Williams. These guys could put up 15 to 25, even 25 to 30 points for guys like Jaylen Brown per night. The depth on this team in which Jason Tatum is putting up these numbers is insane. You mentioned during the game when you and I were talking, like we always do, Jason Tatum has to share 25, sometimes upwards of 30 shots with Jaylen Brown on a night-to-night basis. And he's still putting up these numbers along with Jaylen Brown. And I think that within itself is very, very, very important to look at. But just a bona fide superstar in Jason Tatum, an unbelievable game from Jason Tatum. We saw Tatum go from, I think it was 38 in the fourth. I think he had, 17 in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, I think it was 20. I think it was 20.
Yeah,
Or
20 points
18.
in that.
18. I
Yeah,
think he
it
had
was.
33 going into the fourth.
I mean, he had 6 points in the final minute. He hit that three and then got the rebound, came down and hit that sidestep three. The crowd went nuts, chanting MVP on the road. It's just unbelievable what we're seeing from Jason Tatum. As if we didn't think he could reach another level, he keeps on breaking through another level and avenging to another level. So it's just a matter of time. And Tatum and the Lucas are the new faces of the league, and the Durant, Steph Curry, and LeBron James face of the league is slowly declining. They're still superstars, but they're slowly declining, and a new one is coming about.
Yeah, I mean, I think you saw that in the finals last year. It's where, Steph Curry was kind of put the stamp on it where you might have seen the last champion. I mean, the Warriors are looking rough right now. Obviously, Curry's getting hurt. Curry got hurt. They just dropped a big one to Chicago. They currently sit 8th seed out west. They're 6-4 in the last 10, which isn't terrible. But I mean, you look at a team like Golden State, Justin, 4-17 on the road. That's not a stat where you could just be like, oh, well, they'll figure it out when the playoffs come. Will they? I mean, if you're playing a majority of the games on the road in the playoffs, I mean, right, the West, it's interesting because there's the Nuggets and the Grizzlies, and then there's kind of everyone else. Memphis right now is 29-13. Denver's 30-13. Then you have the Pelicans, who are 26-17. Then you have the Kings, who are a game and a half behind the Pelicans. Then you have the Mavs, who are a game and a half behind the Kings. Then you have the Clippers, who are a game behind the Mavs. Then you have the T-Wolves, who are a half game back from the Clippers. Then you have the Warriors, who are a half game back from Minnesota. So it's like, and then Portland, Utah, and Phoenix are all tied for 8. So it's like you have about it kind of feels like Golden State. You said it. It's like, yes, Steph Curry, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, these guys have been great, but it's not alluding. And I guess you could put Steph Curry to the side of this because what he did last year, it's not alluding to championships. And we're seeing guys like Ja Morant, Nikola Jokic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, those guys, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, those guys are leading their team to championships. And when you look at a young guy, when you look at the playoffs and you look at what do you need? You need experience. What's the young guy on the best team who has been to every level in every game in the playoffs? It's Jason Tatum. He's on the best team. He's playing the best basketball. He has been to the finals. He knows what it's like and what it takes to get there and to win. He's done that. Obviously, Giannis, he's the other guy. But
Right.
this Celtics team, we haven't seen them hit their ceiling yet. I think we'll see them really hit their stride post All-Star break is when you'll see this team fully healthy, I think. But I mean, like I said, the field, Golden State doesn't look great. The Lakers
Right.
don't look great. I mean, Milwaukee right now is losing by 11 to Indiana. They let up 76 points in the first half to the Pacers. They're trailing. So, I mean, they're going to drop. If they lose this, they'll be 5.5 games behind us.
Right.
So, I mean, it's
So
tough.
two things. Going back to the Warriors, I think guys like Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, throw in Iggy. He's got the experience. I know he's getting old, but those guys know how to win on the road. The problem is that I think that, and rightfully so, relying on passing the torch. That's been a severe struggle for this Warriors team. The consistency that they lack with guys like Moses Moody, they have James Wiseman as well, Jonathan Kuminga. Their progression has not progressed. They're either always hurt or they're very, very inconsistent. I thought Dante DiVincenzo was a very solid pickup for them in free agency. They lost Otto Porter. They lost Gary Payton, which were two huge factors. 3 huge defenders, huge contributions to last year's finals team that people aren't talking about. And that's going to give them issues. And, when we talk about guys like Iggy and we talk about guys like Draymond and Steph and Klay, how they're aging, how they're now starting to get injury prone. They need guys like Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga, and James Wiseman to step up, and it's not working. It's not happening, and that's why they can't win on the road. They're a great home team, but you got to find out how to win games on the road. And you also, for Milwaukee that you mentioned, I get Giannis is out. I get Middleton's out. Those are 2 huge, huge, huge pieces to what you have. But you also have to find ways to win games. The Celtics have been able to find ways to win games. They've gone games without Jaylen Brown. They've gone some games without Jason Tatum. They went almost the whole half of the season without Robert Williams. And the Celtics still found ways to win games and pull them out and achieve to the next level. But those are my 2 things that I just wanted to chip in from piggybacking off of what you just said.
No, yeah, you make a great point. And when you look at the Warriors, piggybacking off what you just said, is you come into the season, you lost a bunch of locker. Gary Payton, Juan Toscano-Anderson, those were 2 guys who Gary Payton contributed. Juan Toscano-Anderson, not too much on the court, but those are locker room guys. Those are guys that everyone likes to be around. You lose that now. You fast forward to training camp right around 4 or 5 days before the season starts. Draymond Green's punching Jordan Poole in the face. It's like, you really think that that's going to allude to winning basketball throughout the course of a season? It's just like,
right.
What the Warriors have going on might not be fixable. And what got them to the finals and what won them the finals last year was their experience. Every round they had head and heels more experience over their opponent. First round they played was Denver, right? They had so much more experience than Denver. Then they played Memphis. They have so much more experience than Memphis. Then they played the Mavericks. There's so much more experience than the Mavericks. And then they played probably the best team in the league in the Celtics, but they just out-experienced us. They knew what to do at the times when the Celtics didn't. That's what was winning that team those games. Fast forward, it doesn't look like their chemistry's clicking. They can't win on the road. Steph Curry's banged up. Klay Thompson's kind of inconsistent due to his age and injury. And it's just like, I don't think it's going to work for the Golden State. And I really think Golden State was the only threat to beat Boston out west.
Right. And we also, I watched, what did I watch yesterday? The Draymond Green podcast, and he was talking with Stephen A. Smith. And, Stephen A. Smith, which I find very entertaining, but I do rarely agree with him. But guys like teams like the Pelicans, teams like the Memphis Grizzlies, those guys are knocking on the door in the Western Conference, and I think that's something to look at as well. Is these teams like the Warriors, which they're still respectively the conference defending Western Conference champions and NBA champions, so you got to look at them as an always dangerous team, but there's other teams in the Western Conference that the Celtics need to keep their eye on if they do get to the NBA Finals, and I think the whole league needs to keep an eye on. We're slowly start. We talked about earlier in the show that LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, that kind of era is slowly and sadly fading away from us. In the Ja Morants, the Luka Doncic, the Nikola Jokic, the Giannis, and the Tatums, the new faces, the young guys, those guys are going to be contending for championships and appearing in championships.
And I think you saw that going back to the Suns Bucks series, Booker versus Giannis. I think that was the start of it. Like I said, Warriors had other plans. The Warriors jumped in there and said, hold on, we're healthy this playoff run. We're experienced. You guys aren't. We're going to get this last one. And I think that's what you saw last year. But I think, like I said, you said best. You look at the standings, you just know. It's like this. Even right now, I'm looking at Milwaukee.
Right.
If Middleton can't get healthy, they don't stand a chance in the East. I think Brooklyn takes them if Middleton can't stay healthy. Middleton's old. This isn't a 26-year-old Chris Middleton. Believe Middleton's 31, 32. Like, he isn't like this young buck who needs like 3-4 months to recover and then he's right back at it. It's like, no, these injuries on these older guys, they thought they had a healthy Middleton coming back. In December, Middleton comes back and he's been out of the lineup for another month since then. So it's like, I haven't heard much on Middleton, but you're looking at these teams. They're not as deep as the Celtics. They're not as healthy as Boston, knock on wood that we stay healthy. And I don't see a team that has two superstars, the depth and the experience that this Boston Celtics has to take us down in 7 games, especially, right, if we have the best record in the league. You're playing 4 out of 7 games in Boston. Good luck,
Correct.
Right? We don't have to go on the road 3 or 4 times out in San Francisco. They're coming to our place,
right? And so that, even though we are pre All-Star break, that's something I also want to focus on, because post All-Star break, the Celtics had to play catch up. This time of year, the Celtics really, really had to play catch up. I mean, they were at one point, 21 and 25 or something, whatever 21 and
18 and 21.
whatever. Right. It was something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Celtics had to make up some ground to become that, what was it, 2 seed.
Now
They're 4-5 games out. They gotta keep on that. They gotta keep their foot on the gas pedal. Last year, I think the Celtics played their regular starters in the final game of the season. That is how much catch up you had to play. Come April, I want to see guys like JD Davison. I want to see guys like Peyton Pritchard and Luke Cornett. And to be honest with you, 4 guys like Peyton Pritchard and Luke Cornett, Sam Hauser, throw in Brogdon, those guys aren't going to be, I guess take out Brogdon, those guys aren't going to be big pieces in the in the playoffs. But at the same time, you want to get those guys reps. You want to prepare them for in-game situations allow guys like Robert Williams and Al Horford, most specifically, to rest.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It was this. Jason Tatum scored 40 points in the final game of the year against Memphis last year. It's like, that's what was needed to be done, because we needed to secure that 2 seed. We didn't want to fall 3. In the long run, guess what? It helped us because we had a Game 7 back at our place against the Milwaukee Bucks in the second round. So it's like, so you think about it. Say the last 4 games, you're 4.5 games up. Brooklyn right now, if there's 4 games left in the season, you clinch the 1 seed, you're cruising. You're letting JT and JB and Horford rest their legs for the last 3 out of the last 4 games. Obviously, you want to go into the playoffs, in flow, intact. You don't really want to take a whole week off, right? But it's the fact that they can go into those games knowing that we're good. We have the 1 seed. Let's rest. Let's take this easy. Get our bodies right. Around then, you're starting to know who you're going to play. Obviously, if we're the 1 seed, you have to sit through the play-in to figure out who you're going to play. The field right now in the play-in, Justin, is actually very interesting. We're going to be playing.
I'm glad you brought that up because I want to talk about that.
Yeah, because we could be seeing a Miami Heat first-round matchup.
Eastern Conference Finals matchup out of the play-in.
Right out of the play-in. So you could see the Heat round 1, Miami doesn't stand a chance against us. I think we take them in 5 games this year. Much better team. You could see the Knicks. You could see the Pacers. You could see the Hawks. You could see the Bulls. You could see the Raptors.
Right.
Those are all teams who are struggling right now. I think the Knicks would be an interesting matchup. I think, honestly, out of all those teams, I stated the Knicks would stand the best chance against us. They got a good thing going out there in New York. Indiana, Hawks, Bulls, Raptors. I wouldn't be shocked if we took all of those in 4 games. Toronto looks terrible. I don't even think Toronto will be I think they blow it up at the deadline, quite frankly. I think I wouldn't be shocked if you saw them shipping Pascal out, start the Scotty Barnes superstar rebuild. Don't be shocked if that happens. But yeah, I mean, this 1 seed's important because you can take care of Indiana or Atlanta in 4 games, and you're playing a team like the Sixers or Cavs. That's a 7-game series probably.
Right.
Cleveland versus Philly. So you're coming off one of those teams who are just playing a 7-game series. It's so the 1 seed's important in this loaded Eastern Conference, and it's important that who you're playing in the first round is not a team that's that what I call a series dragger, which are teams that are experienced, well coached. They're going to drag out a series to 6. You saw it last year with the Raptors and the Sixers. Sixers were up 3-0, and the Raptors just dragged it to 6.
Right.
Those games catch up to you. Happened last year, honestly, with the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals. That series should have been over in 5. We should have really taken that in 5 games. The Heat prolonged that to 7 games, and it caught up with us in the finals.
Right. I mean, look, how I look at it, and if I'm looking at it right now, the only 4 teams I don't want to see in the first round is Brooklyn, Milwaukee, Philly, and Cleveland. Right. Yeah. Those 4 are Eastern Conference Finals matchups to me.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not disrespecting any team, but I feel like it's just common knowledge. I feel like Brooklyn, Milwaukee, Cleveland.
Yeah, those are the Philly. 5 best teams.
Right.
You don't want to see one of the 5 best teams.
And I said this last year, and I say it again this year. I'm very interested to see who that 4-5 matchup is, because if it's as good as it is right now, I'll be very glad, because get one of those teams out right away, right? Yeah. Like right now it's Philly versus Cleveland. If the playoffs started today, perfect. Boom. Get one of those teams the hell out of the playoffs. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah.
And we never know right now, between the 5 seed and the 2 seed is only 1 game. And I get it's pre-All-Star. It's only January. What are you guys talking about? To be honest with you, it's very important to keep your eye on the standings.
Oh, absolutely.
Like especially when guys like Jaylen Brown is out of the lineup, Kevin Durant is out, Giannis, and then in Philly, you know what I mean? That was Cleveland is very injury prone. We saw that's why they dropped from the 5 seed down to the 8th seed last year, and eventually was knocked out of the play-in. So it's very important to keep your eyes on the standings. But I would love to see, I know I just said it, but I'd love to see, especially imagine if Brooklyn and Milwaukee dropped, very unlikely, but they dropped to that 4-5 seed. That's a conference finals matchup in the 4-5 seed. That's guaranteed one of them out in the first round. That I would love
or you could see I mean, right now the Knicks are only 2 games back from the 5 seed. You could see a Cavs Bucks first round matchup and a Sixers Knicks first round. Like there's so many different opportunities. Oh, and I'm sorry. Right now the Celtics are lined up to play the Pacers round 1. The Heat would go on and play the Nets.
So can we do this really quick? Can we? I know, time crunch here. We're getting more time, and I know it's only January. But say the playoffs started today.
Yeah,
it'd be Miami and Indiana in the first play-in game for the 7th seed, and it'd be Atlanta and Chicago for the 8th seed. Miami, Indiana,
Atlanta and Chicago would play the loser of.
Yes, but 7th seed Miami, who is
Mhm.
home, plays Indiana for the 7th seed
Yeah.
in Miami. Who wins that game?
Miami for
So
sure.
so now it's Miami. So Atlanta and Chicago in Atlanta, who wins that game?
Probably Chicago. If one game,
Chicago.
yeah, probably Chicago.
Okay. So now for the 8th seed, because Miami locked up that 7, they only needed to win one game. Now it's Pacers, Chicago in Indiana. Who wins that game?
Probably Chicago. I mean,
Right. So the Celtics would, if the playoffs started today, the play-in situation went down as you said. Celtics would be playing Chicago in a
which is
7-game
honestly a
series.
tougher series
Right.
than, if we're being honest, if I had to pick one of those four teams to not play, Chicago would probably be one of them. They've played us really well this year. Even just last week when we played them, it came down the stretch. They got Levine, they got DeRozan. If Lonzo comes back healthy, if Lonzo comes back, I think you see them jump up to like the 6th seed pretty fast. I think they'll turn it around. I don't think they beat us. I think that series goes 5-6 at
So
most.
for me, I would love to see the Celtics, and I'm going to be totally honest with you. I would love to see a first round Celtics Knicks or Celtics Miami. I know those are two tough opponents in the first round, but just classic. Obviously, I would rather play Indiana. If it all said and done, I'd rather play Indiana. I think even if Toronto does turn it around, Toronto's another team that plays us way too tough. I would love to see Indiana first round, but just classic, just nostalgic. I want to see the Knicks, little interdivision
Yeah,
matchup.
yeah, yeah,
I'd love
yeah.
to see that. Just like when we played Miami in the bubble 2 years ago, and then when we played Miami again this year. I love the nostalgia. Like I know the Celtics weren't successful against the Heat in the Heatles era, but I just love the little classic rivalry. Pearson, LeBron, Garnett and
Mhm.
Bosh, Rondo and Wade. I just love that little rivalry that seems to be renewed. The Celtics and Heat have met 2 out of the last 4 years in the conference finals, so that's big.
Yeah, I mean, I I think everyone kind of knows. I mean, at least I think this is all leading up to be a Celtics Bucks Eastern Conference Finals.
Right. Or
I
or Celtics Nets could be if they're healthy and the Nets are playing good ball.
my problem with Brooklyn is just like they won't be healthy. I just know it. I just
Yeah,
know it.
yeah, it's like
It's
a
like
guarantee.
it's
Right.
like Kyrie and KD are transcendent talents, but we've had four. This is their fourth season together. They've had four. 2019 doesn't count. 2020 was their first year together. 2021, like they had a fake season because Kyrie couldn't play half the games, and then this year. So this is
Mm.
their fourth year where they should be playing. They've
So
got into the second round one
are
year.
you Seamus guaranteeing the Nets to not be
No,
healthy
I'm
for the
not guaranteed. Like,
playoffs?
listen, I'm not going to. Kevin Durant is Kevin Durant. What he can
Right.
do is special. But in Kevin Durant's career, we've seen him take his team to the finals once by himself. And even still, he had Russell Westbrook alongside of him, but still, he was the
James Harden.
guy to take his team to the finals once. Not taking away what he won in Golden State, but those Golden State teams were historic. There was a reason they swept through. Essentially, they almost didn't lose
Even
a
without
game.
Durant, they were unbelievable.
Yeah, even without Durant, they were the 73-9 Golden State Warriors. I'm not taking away that, but I'm looking at what I've seen from Kevin Durant in his career. And then I'm looking at what I've seen from Kyrie Irving recently. He's done a good job recently at staying on the court, but these guys crumble. They crumble over the course of 82 games and over the course of playoffs. I'm looking at teams like the Celtics, like the Bucks. Honestly, I think Philly, you could see Philly take down Brooklyn. That would be a phenomenal matchup. I would love to see a Philly Brooklyn matchup. But it's just like I don't think they can put together a playoff run. Their injury presence in history speaks volume to me. Their inability to stay on the court throughout 82 games and develop proper chemistry that's needed to make a run to the finals is apparent to me. And honestly, I think their lack of size and Ben Simmons' inability to shoot is going to kill them when you're game planning for a 7-game playoff series.
Right.
And like KD and Kyrie, as great as they are, they haven't won anything together. So nothing
Right.
has led me, and signs don't point to lead me to believe that Brooklyn Nets team can successfully put together a playoff run. It's just like I'm picking Milwaukee, and I'm picking Boston 10 times out of 10 against Brooklyn.
It's like mesmerizing, and size is a problem with Brooklyn when one lineup has Ben Simmons at point guard, and the next lineup has him at small forward, and the next lineup has him at center. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, it's just he's everywhere, and it's going to be really interesting to see what the Celtics look like post All-Star break. But before we wrap up, can we just quickly just talk about this Warriors game? Because this is a big game. This is a big game. Like Celtics, like last time the Warriors were in Boston, the Celtics got smoked in Game 6, and they got the Warriors celebrated a title on the historic Celtics parquet. What do we? I mean, are you concerned if the Celtics don't pull this
This
game
is
out?
must win. I'm not concerned, but like
But
if the
it'll be
Celtics don't
very
win
dreadful.
this, it's like, okay, the Warriors just have this team's number. This team just gets PTSD when they play the Warriors. It just makes sense. This is a must-win game for sure, though, because I think you win this game. Let's look at the Celtics schedule. I know we're going to wrap up pretty soon, but I want to look at the Celtics schedule because this is important.
I think they got Orlando and Miami next
Yeah,
week.
so we have the Warriors, then the Raptors, then the Magic, then the Heat, then the Knicks, then the Lakers. All
That's a
those
tough
games.
schedule.
I disagree. I think all those games are games you can absolutely take.
Oh, dude. Oh, yeah, but that doesn't mean they're not tough teams.
Yeah,
Tough
I mean, I'm looking at the
for
Heat.
sure.
I'm looking at the
But-
Knicks as two tough matchups. But you take down Golden State. First of all, after they celebrated on the parquet, you owe it to the Celtics fans to beat Golden State. You just did, right? It's like
Yeah.
you owe it to Celtics fans. You got to win that game. You have to, especially after going on the road this year and performing how you performed. You have to come to play. Hands down, no question, established, right? You have to win.
Even without JB, like they have to come. They've proven the Celtics can play high level basketball without.
Without Jaylen Brown, you have to win this
Like,
game.
There's no excuse.
If you win that game, you're on an 8-game winning streak. You've got with Toronto, Orlando, in Miami at next 3. You could be looking at 11 straight games. So it's like you get through this Golden State game. There's higher implications as to further down the line. You could now be looking at even extending that first seed, that distance between first and second to maybe 6 games, 7 games. It's like you just don't know. So I think this Golden State game is I think they have had this one circled since they've lost to Golden State on the road. I just think they have to come in and play it like it's any other game, though, because if they play it like it's the finals rematch, they'll lose, plain and simple. They have to play it like, okay, we got Golden State coming into town. You got to guard Steph Curry from deep. Attack the paint. They're small. They're a smaller team. Attack the paint. Don't let Klay Thompson get going. Try to pick up Jordan Poole. Put pressure on him. He can turn the ball over easily. That's the things they have to do. Because if they do that, they'll win this game. But if they go into this game thinking, we got to get this one back, they beat us on our home court, we dropped one in Golden State, you screwed these guys, they took the championship away from us, finals rematch, it won't be successful, they won't win.
Right. I want to see the Celtics close this January very, very strong. As much as I think the opponents are very tough, Celtics have 15 games this month. 10 of them are on the road, and right now they are 6-2 on the road so far. 6 is that right? 5-2 on the road so far. So I love to see the Celtics. I don't care. No JB. I don't care. I want to see the Celtics just decapitate the Warriors. Is that going to happen? I don't know. Probably not. But I want to see it happen. I want to make sure that happens.
Yeah, for sure. But like I said, big one. Wednesday, January 18th, 7:30 tip-off. You can watch that on TNT or NBC Sports Boston. It's your preference. You pick and choose your poison. It's always nice to listen to Mike and Scal, but sometimes it's good to see what the national media is saying on the Boston Celtics. I usually switch off between it. Super excited to be getting back into the postgame show. Celtics take down the Charlotte Hornets 130-118. Celtics extend their winning streak to 7 games. They advance to 33-12, which is still the best record in the NBA. Jason Tatum, MVP campaign continues strong. He had 51 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists. On the night, JT stays hot. C's looking to extend their winning streak to 8 Wednesday night against the Golden State Warriors. I'm Rob. Next to me is Justin. We will see you guys